Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Today's topic we're going to be talking about the Sandy Hook Massacre, and why we are talking about it is Sandy the new name in terror in our society? It seems like Sandy will be remembered as the name that struck terror in our American society. One for Hurricane Sandy that happened in Long Island a couple of weeks back, and now we have this weekend's tragedy that broke the hearts of not just Americans but across the entire globe. And anyone who's a human being would know that a tragedy that happened where a 20-year-old gunman who went completely insane by killing his mother. There was rumor that he killed his brother. There was rumor that he killed a female friend that he knew, and then took the massacre out on random people young as 5 years old, children who just went to school to learn, to get their education, to play with other children, and mingle in to get a formal and beautiful education. You find out that your child goes to school, and then some of these children came out dead. And this gunman just shot children multiple times in the head, in the heart, in the chest. The blood was just everywhere, according to witnesses. Some people whose kids were shot up so many times they couldn't even count the bullet holes that were in certain victims. And I'm gonna get to the whole analysis on all this because there's a lot to talk about. But before you know it, it started off in the beginning as, they didn't know, all they heard was some shots that happened at the school, but then found out that this became another massacre, and they're calling this the worst massacre since Virginia Tech, when 33 students were killed in that school. Where do you start with all this? First of all, my heart and condolences go out to all the victims, as I always say with tragedies like this. The children who were shot and parents who lost children because of this tragedy, my heart goes out to all of you, and I hope you all have God in your heart. I know that's hard to say that because you're probably saying to yourself, how can God let all this happen? Believe me, we all have anger, and you have a right to be angry. I just hope that you don't let hate become your way of staying angry because the victims don't need it. But I do understand why it's there. This bullshit that happened this weekend, where, eh, you know something, it's one thing to be angry with society, and you can voice your opinion on it, but to actually use weapons of destruction to go into a school and kill children as young as 5 years old is fucking ridiculous. I mean, it's words beyond fathom what happens when you see tragedies like this. I haven't seen a tragedy like this since that Amish incident where a gunman went into that school and shot up five Amish children. They were like the ages between 7 and 12. But it was the idea that the Amish believed that even though as horrific and hurtful this tragedy was, we have to embrace society and let them know and make a stand that we can forgive, because that is in our religion to believe that we can forgive, even though the pain will forever hurt them. But it shows that people can come together, and what is probably the most hardest thing to do is try to forgive someone who killed someone you love. This particular incident I saw this weekend, me and my wife saw this, and we couldn't believe the bullshit we saw. First of all, number one, the news media cannot tell a story to save their life. We have watched channel 2, 4, 5, 7, CNN, ABC. We watch every news network we can think of to try to get a clear understanding as to what happened in this tragedy. All we saw was newscasters putting their face on the paper to get blown up. Then we see misinformation. I mean, if you're going to report something, get your information straight. Don't go into the news and say, well, okay, there were 40 people dead and there was only 28 dead. Or the gunman had 5 people with him, but it was only him. If you're going to have misinformation, don't report anything until the authorities come out with the clear information that's needed. Instead, they go into the news and it's like, well, we'll make up the news as we go. And then it's funny because every news anchor wants their face on the paper. It seems like when a tragedy like this happens, that's all you see is Maurice Dubois, and you see Christine Johnson, and then you see Shanae Veteran-Waugh. I mean, you see all these new anchors, and I'm not blaming, and this has nothing to do with color or them being minority. It's just the idea that they just put their face in the paper or in the news, and they don't care about the victims. They just care about the ratings and what it will do for their career. I really truly believe that the news media should not report anything until they get their facts straight. And then the victims who are looking for loved ones, because remember, the victims are turning on the TV and finding out that their child's name's on the TV, and then find out their child wasn't dead. I know if that was my child, I'd be scared to death knowing that something happened. So do yourself a favor. Don't listen to the media. Go straight to the police and get the information from them, because the media is just going to misconstrue all the information that's being given to you. The second thing that I noticed everybody was talking about, when I say everybody, I'm talking about the news media and what the world's been thinking, is this issue about guns and violence in the movie. You know something? We need to stop that bullshit too, because you know something? Until the lawmakers decide that, you know what, we need to do something about the distributing guns to our society. Believe me, you all have to remember, this is still the right to bear arms. But the problem is that the people who are selling these guns don't take the time to find out if the person they're selling it to has a mental problem. So what we need to do is we need to go after the store owners, or do like what Chris Rock said. Why don't we charge the bullets? I bet you if a bullet costs $10,000, there'd be no more killing. Trust me, people will think about it if a bullet costs that much. But believe me, people figure, well, if a bullet costs that much, then the gunman will probably do something else. Trust me, you charge those bullets the extreme amount, there'll be no more violence in the schools. But you know something, the problem is that these gun owners won't do it, and they want to make money, and they figure, hey, as long as you don't got a mental problem or you've never been to jail, I can sell him the gun. It's my right to sell it to him. I need to make money for my business. And in terms of the movies, Hollywood is a big hypocrite too. They scream about, well, something, for the last couple of years we've been making PG-13 films. Now Django Unchained comes out at the wrong time, and it's just going to promote more violence, and the same dumbass argument we heard when Virginia Tech or Columbine went down. And what happened? They were still making those violent films because, remember, Hollywood and movies equal Monet. So this was all about the money game. So don't believe this bullshit about what Hollywood is saying. The point I'm trying to say with these issues is that nothing's going to change unless it's changed within the system. Hollywood is still going to continue to make those violent films because it's all about supply and demand. I mean, as long as there's a demand for The Matrix, they will continue to make it. If there's a demand for Quentin Tarantino, he's going to make it. He's just going to say that, you know what, well, don't blame me, blame the person who committed the crime. My movies don't make crime. It's the person who committed the crime. My movies may have an influence in certain individuals, but I think my audience can know the difference between reality and fantasy. That's all Quentin Tarantino's going to say. I mean, he's just going to say, hey, you don't like my movie, don't spend your change and go see it. And I always say, if you want to beat Quentin Tarantino, go bootleg his movie. That'll put him out of business. It may not make him broke, but it'll definitely hurt his pocket. Believe me, and you know what it is? He used to bootleg other films too, so believe me, it's not something he's not used to. I think what I'm basically trying to say is, I notice now that, it's so ironic that the Sandy has become a new name in terror. And you know something? Ever since I've heard that name, I said, Jesus Christ. I mean, first we had Hurricane Sandy, and that killed some people and created destruction of damage. Now Sandy has come back again in killing off children in schools where a gunman has decided to take off. I mean, isn't it ironic that Sandy seems to be the new word in terror? I mean, what's next? Is there another Sandy that's going to pop up somewhere? It just seems like this name does not have a meaning of good. It just seems like it's just death and destruction that happens when Sandy pops up. I hope I don't hear another Sandy, because believe me, when we hear children being killed, it sickens you. And you know something? I hope that President Obama keeps his word and hoping to stop future mass shootings, because this is ridiculous. We need tougher securities in school. We need to increase the charges on bullets. We need to tell Hollywood, stop being a hypocrite. Say what you mean and mean what you say. You know, if you're gonna tell people we don't want violence in film, tell Hollywood that. But the most important thing of all is that this is something that I think we all need to know, is that if you are a parent, and a parent today is what I'm sure a lot of people are sitting here saying to themselves, how do you explain this horrific terror and this horrific tragedy to your child? It's very quite simple. You just tell your child that, you know something, what you saw on TV has nothing to do with good or evil. It has to do with right and wrong. And what matters is that what was wrong was what this man did, and what is right, that you don't let fear conquer all, that you go back to school and you make sure you get that education. And even though you feel like school is now become the most fearful place to go to, because it seems like everybody's getting hurt, but believe me, you are safe and you are loved, because not only the parents love you, and not only that we're there to support you, but we will guide you and make sure that nothing happens to you. So if you tell your kid that, you'll be able to make your kid feel confident, or just tell your kid every day, you know something, we love you and nothing will happen to you, not while we're your parents. So think about these things, and you know something, I know that, you know, my time is short, but you know something, before, you know, I leave off here, again, I just want to tell everybody, you know, this weekend, give your heart and your prayers to the victims of Sandy Hook. This is not about donations. This is just about, you know, just give your prayers. I think if anything, they just want to know that you care. And we do care, and I care. Because I know I have children myself. And believe me when I tell you, I think if that was one of mine that went to a school and was shot multiple times, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'd be telling you all that, you know what, this is a tragedy that could have happened to any one of us. So, you know, tell your kids you love them, tell them that you're going to be there for them, and tell them that they are safe as long as you're there to help them keep them safe. Remember, communication is the key to making sure that your child gets through this horrific tragedy. So hit me up with your comments, tell me what you think. Hopefully, you know, the only thing I could say is that I hope Sandy doesn't become this terror that we all seem to be getting. I know these are all coincidences that we're hearing, because, you know, Sandy and Sandy just seems to be, you know, this new name of extreme destruction and extreme terror. But you know something, I just hope that we all keep goodness in our heart and let people know that, you know something, we can get through anything as long as we believe that we stick together and help one another. So remember, use your mind, it's your best weapon. Again, you know, you all have a great night. And for some of you, if I don't, you know, come back on here and talk to you all, I just want to say to all of you, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.